The morning sun cast long shadows across the Pacific as three massive ships descended from the clouds like falling stars. Admiral Li Jinwu pressed his face against the thick glass of the observation deck, watching the alien vessels settle into formation above the ocean. Each ship was enormous, easily the size of a city block, their silver hulls reflecting the sunlight in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Sir, we're getting signals," Lieutenant Park Mina called out from her station. Her fingers moved quickly across the glowing controls in front of her. "They're sending messages on every frequency we use. Looks like they want to talk." Commander Kim Hoyen straightened his uniform and walked over to the main display. His face was calm, but his hands were slightly shaking. "Hear what they have to say." The voice that came through the speakers was beautiful, like music mixed with words. It seemed to flow through the air and made everyone in the room stop what they were doing to listen. "Hello, people of the third planet from your star. We're the Confederation of Worlds. We come in peace to offer you friendship. We want to give you a place among the stars with us." Dr. Choi Soo-jin, the scientist who studied alien life, looked up from her tablet where she was writing notes. "How nice of them," she said quietly, but her voice had a sharp edge to it. "They didn't even ask if we wanted visitors." Admiral Lee kept his face blank, but the muscles in his jaw got tight. "Send them our prepared response. Wake up the sleeping giant network. We need to find out what these visitors really want." The alien ships floated silently above the water for hours. Their representatives talked about wonderful things: protection from dangers in space, knowledge that would help humanity grow, and a chance to join a great galactic family. The words sounded good, but something felt wrong about them. Deep underground, beneath the mountains near Seoul, Captain Yoon Seokman sat in a hidden control room filled with screens and blinking lights. He was listening to every word the aliens said, and he didn't like what he heard. The walls around him were covered with files and photos from other planets, other species that had met visitors like these. "They're doing exactly what we expected," he said into his headset, talking to his boss back at headquarters. "It's the same thing they did to the people on Kepler 4-4b. Same words, same promises they made to the folks on Glee 667c. They think we're just another bunch of simple creatures they can easily control." The aliens kept talking about how they wanted to help humanity. They said Earth was special, that humans had great potential, but that they needed guidance to reach the stars safely. They spoke of terrible dangers in space that only the Confederation could protect against. They promised technology that would solve all of humanity's problems: hunger, disease, war. But Captain Yoon had studied the records. He knew what happened to species that accepted this kind of help. First came the gifts, amazing technology that made life easier. Then came the advisors, alien experts who helped local governments make better decisions. Finally came the integration, a gentle word that meant the complete loss of independence. "Sir, they're asking for a formal meeting," Lieutenant Park reported. "They want to set up some kind of embassy platform in international waters. They're being very polite about it."
Doctor.
Choi looked up from her notes again. "Of course they are. They're always polite at first. It's much easier to swallow poison when it tastes sweet." Admiral Lee nodded slowly. "Tell them we need time to consult with our world leaders. Buy us 48 hours. As the first day turned into night, more information came in from monitoring stations around the world. The aliens were scanning everything: military bases, population centers, industrial facilities. They were mapping Earth's defenses and resources with the casual efficiency of farmers surveying a new field. "They're not even trying to hide it," reported Major Kim from a listening post in Antarctica. "They're cataloging everything we have, like they already own it." The alien ships moved slowly around the planet, their sensors reaching deep into Earth's oceans and continents. They found the obvious things: the military bases everyone knew about, the satellites that protected major cities, the communication networks that connected governments. But they missed other things, things that were hidden much deeper and much better. "Phase 1 is complete," Admiral Lee said quietly to his senior staff. "They think they know everything about us. They're confident, maybe too confident." That's exactly what we wanted. In the hidden facilities scattered across the planet, thousands of men and women watched and waited. They had been preparing for this day for decades, training for the moment. When Earth would finally meet the predators that hunted among the stars, the aliens thought they had found easy prey, another primitive world, ready for harvest. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The silver ships continued their lazy patrol above Earth's surface, their crews already planning the next phase of integration. They had done this so many times before, on so many worlds, that it had become routine. But this time, something was different. This time, the prey had teeth. 3 days after the alien ships arrived, a large metal platform floated in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The aliens had built it quickly using their advanced technology, creating a meeting place where diplomats from both species could talk safely. The platform was smooth and white, with strange symbols glowing softly along its edges. Ambassador Talmyron sat in a chair that seemed to grow from the floor itself. His skin looked like living crystal, changing colors as the light hit it from different angles. He had 4 arms that moved gracefully as he spoke. His voice sounded like beautiful music, even through the translation device. "Your people have great potential," the ambassador said, his words flowing like water. "But you are scattered and divided. Your many countries fight each other instead of working together. The Confederation can teach you how to unite and become strong." Across the table, negotiator Shindeho sat with his hands folded, looking nervous and uncertain. He wore a simple black suit and kept glancing at his notes as if he was afraid to make a mistake. "We are deeply honored that you would consider us worthy of your attention," he said carefully. "But this is also new to us. Our people have never imagined life beyond our own planet. We need time to understand what you are offering." The ambassador's crystalline features shifted into what might have been a smile. "Of course. We understand that primitive species need time to adjust to new concepts. We have guided many worlds through this process. Trust us, and we will make everything simple for you." Far below the ocean, deeper than any human had ever gone, before Major Han Sung-ho sat in a control room carved from solid rock. Screens surrounded him, showing every word and gesture from the meeting above. His fingers moved across keyboards as he recorded everything, sending the data to analysis centers around the world. "The alien is talking to us like we're children," he reported through his headset. "He thinks we're scared and confused. He has no idea that we're studying every word he says, learning how his mind works." In Antarctica, where the ice stretched for thousands of miles in every direction, Dr. Lim Young-mi worked in a laboratory hidden beneath the frozen surface. Her computers processed the aliens' speech patterns, body language, and emotional responses. Charts and graphs filled her screens, showing the psychological profile of their visitor. "They're so sure of themselves," she said to her research team. "They really believe they're the smartest, strongest species in the galaxy, that confidence is making them careless. They're not even trying to hide their true intentions." The world, a massive deception was taking place. Lieutenant Colonel Park Ji-soo coordinated the operation from a bunker hidden in the mountains of Colorado. Hundreds of people worked around the clock to maintain the illusion that humanity was primitive and divided. Radio stations broadcast fake news reports about panic in major cities. Military bases conducted training exercises using old, outdated weapons that looked impressive but were actually decades behind humanity's real capabilities. Television networks showed frightened citizens and confused government officials, all carefully scripted to convince the aliens that Earth was helpless. "The beautiful thing about this plan," Park explained to her staff during a briefing, "is that the aliens want to believe we're weak. It fits perfectly with their experience. They've conquered so many worlds using the same approach that they can't imagine a species that might be ready for them." On the moon, what looked like simple research stations were actually sophisticated military bases. The alien scanners saw small buildings with basic equipment, but the real facilities were hidden deep underground. Advanced weapon systems and communication arrays were camouflaged to look like scientific instruments. Back on the floating platform, Ambassador Talmyron continued his sales pitch. "We offer you protection from the dangers of space," he said, his forearms spreading wide. "There are hostile species out there that would destroy you without hesitation. Only under our guidance can you survive and prosper." Shindeho nodded eagerly, playing his part as the overwhelmed primitive. We would be grateful for your protection. But our people are frightened. They don't understand technology like yours. How can we be sure we're making the right choice? The ambassador's laugh sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Do not worry about such things. We will take care of everything. You will not need to make difficult decisions. We will guide you step by step, and soon you will wonder how you ever lived without us. Deep in the ocean, Major Han recorded every word. The aliens' casual dismissal of human intelligence. His assumption that they would gladly give up their freedom for security. His complete confidence that this was just another routine conquest. It all went into the files that would help plan humanity's response. The deception was working perfectly. The aliens saw exactly what they expected to see. A frightened, divided species with primitive technology and no unity. They had no idea that every confused radio broadcast, every panicked government statement, every display of outdated weapons was carefully orchestrated to reinforce their assumptions. The trap was being set, and the aliens were walking right into it. The floating embassy rocked gently on the Pacific. Waves as Ambassador Talmyron stood up from his chair. His crystalline skin had changed from soft blue to a harsh red color, and his forearms moved in. Sharp, angry gestures. The pleasant smile was gone from his face, replaced by something cold and threatening. We have been very patient with your species, he said, his musical voice now carrying an edge like broken glass. But the Confederation has important work to do across the galaxy. We cannot waste more time on one small planet. The human diplomats sat around the curved table, their faces showing fear and confusion. Foreign Minister Kong Minji, who had been chosen to speak for Earth, looked pale and shaken. Her hands trembled as she reached for her water glass. Ambassador, please, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Our people are trying to understand. This is the biggest decision in human history. Surely we deserve more time to consider all the implications. Talmyron's forearms spread wide, and the humans had learned this meant the conversation was over. Time is something your species no longer has the luxury of wasting. You have exactly 72 hours to make your choice. Join the Confederation willingly, or we will make the choice for you. The other human representatives shifted nervously in their seats. Some whispered to each other in worried voices. Others stared at the table, unable to meet the ambassadors. Glowing eyes. But Ambassador Kong Minji tried again. Our governments need to vote. Our people need to be consulted. We have procedures that must be followed. The alien's laugh was like ice cracking. Your procedures are meaningless. Your governments are toys. Your people are children who cannot make adult decisions. We will show you exactly how helpless you really are. High above the Earth, the three massive alien ships began to move. Their hulls, which had seemed so beautiful when they first arrived, now looked menacing against the black of space. Energy began to build along their surfaces, crackling with power that made the air itself seem to vibrate.
At your primitive.
Sky Talmyron commanded. See what happens to those who resist the Confederation? The first energy beam shot down from the lead ship like a lance of pure light. It struck a defense satellite that orbited high above North America, and the satellite exploded in a shower of sparks and metal debris. Then another beam, and another, systematically destroying what appeared to be Earth's most advanced military technology. On the floating platform, the human diplomats watched in horror as their planet's defenses were swept away. Kong Minji covered her mouth with her hands, tears streaming down her face. Our satellites, she whispered. Our defense systems. They're destroying everything. But far beneath the Swiss Alps, in a command center carved from solid rock, General Ru Taejun watched the same display with very different emotions. His weathered face showed satisfaction rather than fear as he observed the alien attack. Perfect, he said to his staff. They're hitting exactly the targets we wanted them to hit. Every satellite they're destroying is one of our old decoys. The real defense network is completely untouched. The general's command center was filled with screens showing the alien assault from every angle. Technicians worked quietly at their stations, monitoring systems that the aliens didn't even know existed. The room hummed with the power of technology far more advanced than anything the aliens had detected. Captain Lee Soyan sat at a communications console, listening to the alien ship's internal transmissions. Her equipment could intercept and decode Their most secret messages, something that would have been impossible if humanity was as primitive as they pretended to be. "Sir, you need to hear this," she reported. "The aliens are already making plans for after the invasion. They're discussing which cities to occupy first, how to divide up our natural resources, and how many humans they'll need for their labor force." The captain's face was grim as she continued reading the intercepted messages. "They're talking about us like we're livestock. They've already decided that most of our population is unnecessary. They're planning to reduce human numbers to what they call sustainable levels." Dr. Nam Ji-hoon, the chief strategist who had planned this entire deception, stood near the main display screen. His calm expression hadn't changed, but his eyes held a coldness that his colleagues had learned to recognize. "Let them make their plans," he said quietly. "Let them think they've already won. In 60 hours, when their deadline arrives, they're going to discover that they've made a terrible mistake." Above ground, the alien demonstration continued. Military bases around the world reported their systems failing as invisible energy waves swept across their installations. Fighter jets fell from the sky as their electronics died. Naval vessels lost power and drifted helplessly in the ocean. To any observer, it looked like humanity's military might was being effortlessly destroyed. News broadcasts showed panic in major cities as people watched, their protectors rendered helpless. World leaders appeared on television, their faces showing defeat and desperation, but in the hidden facilities scattered across the planet, humanity's real military watched and waited. The aliens had destroyed toys and shadows, leaving the true weapons untouched. The predators thought they had cornered helpless prey, but they were about to learn that sometimes the prey has bigger teeth than the hunter. The countdown had begun. The clock on the embassy platform showed exactly noon when the 72 hours ended. Ambassador Talmyron sat in his luxurious chambers, sipping a drink that sparkled like liquid starlight. He had done this hundreds of times before on hundreds of worlds. Soon, the terrified humans would come crawling to him, begging for mercy and promising to obey every command. His communication device chimed softly, and he smiled as he activated it. But instead of the desperate pleas he expected, a calm human voice spoke, just for simple words. "Thank you for the demonstration. Now it's our turn." Dalmyron's crystalline features twisted in confusion. "What demonstration? What turn?" he muttered. But his question was answered within seconds. Across Earth's surface, things that had looked like simple buildings and research stations began to change. Metal panels slid away to reveal gleaming weapons. Antenna arrays unfolded like giant flowers blooming in fast motion. Energy readings spiked so high that the alien ship's sensors started screaming warnings. "Sir," called one of Talmyron's crew members from the bridge, "we're detecting massive power signatures from the planet's surface. These readings are impossible. No primitive species could generate this much energy." Colonel Ominje stood in a command center that the aliens had never detected, buried deep beneath a mountain that looked completely normal from the outside. Around him, hundreds of technicians worked at stations filled with technology that would have amazed the aliens if they had known it existed. "All stations, report status," he commanded, his voice calm and steady. "Antarctic base online and ready," came the first response. "Lunar facilities armed and targeting," reported another voice. "Mars orbital platforms ready to fire. Asteroid belt fleet moving into position," the colonel smiled grimly. "Operation Predator's Dawn is now active. Show them what Earth really looks like when it's not pretending to be helpless." High above the planet, the structures that had seemed like simple space stations began to transform. Solar panels folded back to reveal weapons that hummed with deadly energy. Communication dishes reconfigured themselves into targeting arrays. What had looked like basic research equipment revealed itself as the most advanced military technology in the galaxy. Captain One Suji felt the familiar push of acceleration as her ship launched from a hidden base inside what had appeared to be a dead asteroid. Her vessel was sleek and deadly, designed using technology stolen from a dozen different alien species over the past 30 years. "Wolfpack 1, launching," she reported. "I can see the alien ships through my view screen. They're just floating there, like they can't believe what's happening." The alien ships had been built to intimidate primitive species with their size and obvious power. But they had never been designed to fight against an enemy that had been preparing for this exact moment for decades. Their weapons were meant to destroy crude missiles and basic energy shields, not the advanced defenses that humanity had secretly developed. "They're firing at us," reported Captain On, as energy beams lanced out from the alien vessels. "But our shields are holding perfectly. The beams are just bouncing off like raindrops." Dr. Baijin Yuk watched the battle from his laboratory, surrounded by pieces of alien technology that had been captured and studied over the years. Every weapon system, every piece of armor, every defensive measure the aliens possessed had been analyzed and improved upon. "Their hull materials are exactly what we expected based on our previous samples," he reported to the command center. "Our weapons are cutting through their armor like it's made of paper." They never imagined that a species could take their own technology and make it better. The alien ships tried to retreat, but Earth's hidden fleet was everywhere. Ships emerged from behind the moon, from the asteroid belt, from hidden bases on Mars. Humanity had been building and positioning forces throughout the solar system for 3 decades, waiting for this moment. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the alien ambassador," reported a communications officer. Colonel Lowe nodded. "Put it through." Talmyron's voice came through the speakers, no longer musical and confident. Now it sounded terrified and desperate. "Stop this attack. We demand to speak with your leaders. This is impossible. You're supposed to be a primitive species." "We are speaking with you," the colonel replied calmly. "And we're not primitive. We're predators. We've been hunting your kind for 30 years, learning from every scout ship and probe you sent our way. Did you really think we wouldn't notice? When you started mapping our system, the alien ships' weapons fell silent as their crews realized the hopelessness of their situation. Human vessels surrounded them completely, weapons trained on their hulls. Their superior technology had been matched and surpassed by a species they had dismissed as helpless animals. "Impossible," Talmyron whispered. "We are the Confederation. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We're the apex species of the galaxy." "You were," came the reply. "But now you've met something that was ready for you, something that spent decades preparing for this day. Welcome to Earth's ambassador. We hope you enjoy your stay." The battle was over before it had truly begun. The hunters had become the hunted, and the galaxy would never be the same. Ambassador Talmyron gripped his command chair with all 4 arms as his ship shook violently. The bridge around him was filled with flashing red lights and the sound of alarms. His beautiful crystalline skin had turned a sickly gray color, and his musical voice was now just a frightened whisper. "This cannot be happening," he said, staring at the screens showing human ships surrounding his fleet. "We are the Confederation. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. How could a primitive species do this to us?" The answer came through his communication system in a calm, human voice. Captain Wu Sung-hoon spoke as if he was discussing the weather instead of a space battle. "We've been waiting for you for 30 years, Ambassador. Every small probe you sent to look at our solar system, every scout ship that vanished near our asteroid belt, they all taught us something new about your people." Talmyron felt his heart stop beating for a moment. The missing ships, the expeditions that had never returned, the strange gaps in their star maps. His people had thought those losses were caused by space pirates or dangerous cosmic storms. But it had been Earth all along, quietly hunting and capturing every alien vessel that came too close to their system. "You've been studying us," he whispered, the terrible truth finally sinking in. "All this time, you've been learning our secrets. Every piece of technology, every weapon system, every tactical manual," Captain Wu confirmed. "We took apart your ships bolt by bolt and learned how to build better ones. We studied your psychology and learned exactly how you think. We've been preparing for this day since before you even knew our planet existed." On the human ships, Major Song Ji-woo led boarding parties through the corridors of the surrendering alien vessels. She had expected to fight trained warriors, but what she found surprised her. The alien crew members were hiding in their quarters, some crying, others begging for mercy. They had no weapons, no combat training, no idea how to fight back. "Command, this is interesting," she reported through her radio. "These aliens aren't soldiers. They're more like office workers. They've been conquering planets for so long that they forgot how to actually fight when someone fights back." The aliens had grown soft over the centuries, had become used to dealing with frightened, primitive species who surrendered immediately when faced with superior technology. They had no experience fighting against an enemy that was ready for them. An enemy that had spent decades preparing for this exact moment. Back in the command center, Admiral Lee Jinwoo watched the final alien ship lower its weapons and signal surrender. Around him, his staff worked efficiently, coordinating the capture of the entire alien fleet. Not a single human ship had been seriously damaged. The battle had been completely one-sided. Secure all alien personnel for questioning. He ordered, "We need to learn everything they know about their homeworlds, their military, their technology. This is just the beginning." Dr. Choi Soo-jin sat at her workstation, her eyes wide with amazement as data poured in from the captured alien ships. Their computers contained information that would have taken humanity centuries to discover on their own. Star charts showing the locations of every Confederation world, communication codes for their military networks, detailed plans for their conquest strategies. "Sir, you need to see this," she called to the Admiral. "We've hit the jackpot." There, ships contain everything: star maps, military codes, population data, resource locations. They've basically given us a complete guide to their entire civilization. The irony was perfect. The aliens had come to Earth expecting to find another helpless species to add to their collection. Instead, they had delivered themselves and all their secrets directly into the hands of humanity's military. As the last alien ship was secured, a desperate transmission shot out from the dying fleet toward the core worlds of the Confederation. It was a warning, a final desperate attempt to tell their homeworlds about the terrible mistake they had made. "Do not come to the Sol system," the message said. "The species here is not primitive. They are predators. They have been hunting us. They are more dangerous than anything we have ever encountered. Stay away. Save yourselves." But the warning was too late. Even as the message traveled through space at the speed of light, human ships were already moving beyond the solar system. Earth's hidden fleet, built over decades of preparation, was heading toward Confederation space. They carried with them complete knowledge of alien technology, detailed maps of every alien world, and a hunger for expansion that had been building for 30 years. The galaxy's balance of power had just shifted completely. The Confederation had ruled for centuries, conquering species after species with their superior technology and overwhelming confidence. But they had finally met their match in humanity, a species that had learned to hide its true nature until the perfect moment to strike. The hunters had become the hunted. The apex predators of the galaxy had revealed themselves at last, and they were very, very hungry. The age of human expansion was about to begin. The galaxy would never be the same. The last thing the Confederation would ever see was Earth's fleet approaching their worlds, carrying the death of their empire. In its wake,